What about the way these conversations and the way they affect immigrants who are already here? We could close the borders tomorrow and let nobody in left. Where there is a huge immigrant population in Australia. The phrase, you know, a country built by immigrants is regularly used since the White Australia policy thing, since we wrapped that up.
It depends what you mean by immigrants in Australia. I mean,
sure.
What do you mean when you say that?
Immigrants, people who have immigrated post the White Australia policy. I think certainly that's a big part of it, of what we make up the immigrant population. But indeed,
because it's an important question. I mean, is somebody an immigrant once they become a citizen? I'd say not.
They cease to be an immigrant.
They cease to be an immigrant. Once you're a citizen, you're not an immigrant anymore.
Right.
You're an Australian.
Yeah. Well, there are plenty of citizens, people who are born and raised from, say, the Sudanese community in Australia. There's a lot of focus on that particular immigrant community in Melbourne at the moment.
Because of the home invasion.
There are some issues surrounding the overrepresentation of that community in crime statistics. Yeah. This video went a little bit viral on Vice Australia last week. This is some Sudanese youth recounting some of the feedback and some of the conversation that's happening online at the moment when it comes to their community.
What more do you want? You people in Canberra, this is our country. Please send them back. They don't deserve to be here, and they are used to fighting and destroying other people's businesses, lives, and homes. For God's sake, can't you see what is happening? We will be taken over by them, and that is for sure. You are a bunch of idiots if you don't see this happening. I say concealed firearms should be considered in Australia. If they're that much of a danger, they should be shot.
I mean, how do we have this conversation without that kind of shit happening?
Well, look, that's just a risk you're going to have to take, isn't it? Because the alternative is you shut everyone up, which isn't going to work. You're not going to be able to tell people don't speak about things, because they may not speak about things, but they'll keep thinking things. And it's much better that you know what they're thinking than that everyone hides it from you. It's going to be a lot better in the long term. But this points exactly to the centre of a conundrum, which is there are specific issues that specific communities bring, undoubtedly. There are specific benefits that the communities bring, undoubtedly, and specific downsides. One thing which I've seen this throughout Europe. If, for instance, people flee a specific war zone, for instance, Somalia, speak to anyone who's fled Somalia in recent years. They have seen things that you can't imagine. Now, it's very likely these people also are going to have a different attitude toward violence as a result. And we have seen this in gangs in London in recent years. A Somali gang moves into an area and they are willing to do things that other gangs won't do, and that causes a rise in violence, gang to gang to gang. Okay. That doesn't mean you don't invite any Somalis. It doesn't mean you don't have any asylum policy. But, like, you're a damn fool if you're not going to think about that and find some way to address it, because otherwise you leave it to people to start gestating and becoming vile and becoming angry against everybody. So, you know, this is the central stupidity of the assumption of multiculturalists who believe in that not as an idea, but as a policy, that you make things multicultural. The central problem they keep on coming to is this. They think in a diverse society we should hear less views. We should clamp down on views. Look, the more diverse your society, the more views you're going to have to hear. Get used to it. And some of that's going to be really ugly and unpleasant. Well, as I say, what are your alternatives? Because shutting up cannot be one of them.